Network Broadbent.
Hey everyone, happy Thursday evening to you all. Welcome to EVH Gear TV. I am live once again. It seems like I've been live every night this week, and I'm loving it. No rest for the wicked. And look who this guy is. Look who this guy is on my screen. You guys recognize this guy? Ron Bumblefoot Thal.
No, they don't. Hi, how you all doing?
He's got a cool beard, man. How you doing, buddy?
Good.
Good.
Good to see you. How's everything?
Everything is great. I'm very happy to have you here, and I'm just going to see if I can correct my camera a little bit for you. Just 1 second. I'm going to bring you down just a bit. Don't adjust your camera. I'll adjust you for you. 1 second here. Let's bring you down. There we go. I think we got you pretty good. Beard's looking stellar. Can't change anything in there. Very happy to have you, and this come about pretty quickly, just because of a little bit of a mix-up that you had on your end. We won't get into the full details there, but it actually worked out in my favor, kind of a drag for you. But it's very nice to have you. We're going to talk a little bit about Van Halen, obviously our mutual admiration for that. And you guys should have just seen what he did off the camera. He's not going to do it again, sadly, but oh my God, dude, it was amazing. It was good. That was very good, what you did. And we won't say what it is.
The juggling thing with
the juggling, the chainsaw, and then, the whip. Yeah, it was pretty neat. It was pretty awesome.
The cat didn't get hurt or anything.
No animals were hurt in the stunt, so it's good. PETA can relax.
I think
so. So we're going to talk about the new record that you've got out. You got a tour coming up right now that you're ready to head out overseas for. A lot of crazy stuff. But I'm just going to jump over the chat very fast and recognize everybody. Come back with some cool questions. We got Jack Shea Martin jumping in. Justin Grady, as always. Guitar Corner. Access Mario. It is jumping in. That is actually a name. Les Bellin. Darren Moore, Rock and Roll. Dan Wilhite. Tom Bolts is jumping in. Quentin James. Liza Morris. Thomas Santiago. And so we're going to have a bunch more people coming in as we do that.
Lots of people. Good.
Yes. Lots of guitar fans.
Great.
It's been fun. Last night, too, Steve Lynch was on the show. He was talking about you. We were talking about you. And, in a good ways. Totally good ways. Nothing bad. When you're talking about the Bumblefoot, what can you say that's bad?
I could think of things, but yeah.
It's all good. So listen, this new record, you've got this new record out. It's a week ago tomorrow that it hit the store shelves, if you want to call it store shelves anymore. I guess it's the virtual store shelves and the store shelves. And the reviews, unless I haven't been looking hard enough, the reviews have been absolutely stellar. I follow Derek Sherinian very closely on social media as well too, and he's retweeting a lot. I know you guys and the whole band are retweeting, but I'm seeing them on my own too, and the reviews have been incredible. What are your thoughts so far now that you've had almost a week under your belt?
I'm happy. You never know how the world is going to react to something when you put it out into the universe, and it's up to them. All you could do is you do what you do, you put it out there, and you hope people enjoy it. And I'm happy that people are enjoying it. So good. It's interesting because when I first really started putting out music, it was pretty progressive. Mm-hmm. A lot of the stuff, and it's sort of smoothed out and polished out over the years. And now doing progressive stuff again, that's predominantly, really a lot going on. I forgot how much I missed it.
Yes.
Definitely. I've been putting out pretty stuff, and that's all fine and good, and I love that. But, you forget how much you love something. You're doing it again, and it's just like, holy shit, I forgot. Yeah. I forgot how I enjoyed jamming in 13 and 11 and whatever else. Yeah. And just when there's so much going on, it's just a circus in your head of everything happening. Definitely.
Well, the weird thing about that too, and I know that must feel really good for you too, but going into it as a progressive metal, progressive rock project, that was kind of the direction going into it, and it's still come out that way. However, there's so much classic rock that still emerges from that record. And see, myself, I'll be the first one to admit, I don't know a lot of progressive rock and progressive metal. Like I like Rush, I like Dream Theater, obviously I like your new band, stuff like that. But I'm more of the rock guy, the Van Halen, Kiss, all that kind of stuff, right? So tracks like Coming Home hit me before anything else did, because that was just a whirlwind of, you're shredding on it. Billy can play like crazy, but he's holding back on that one a little bit in places. Derek is like Eddie Van Halen on keyboards. So that one really moved me. But I guess you guys are all rock fans through and through, so a lot of that emerged on that record too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's almost like, I mean, I know people expected there to be a progressive side to it, and there is, but that's because we do love progressive stuff. And I think the album itself, in a way, is us being just a bunch of fans of what we love and bringing that to the table. It's almost like when you listen to the record, it doesn't have a singular direction, even though there's 5 definable ingredients that are in there. You can always, when you hear the combination of them, you'll know. With any band, it's like that. But when I listen to it, every song I hear, okay, that's a little bit of Van Halen right there. That came out. That's a little bit of UK that came out. That's a little bit of Rush that came out. That's a little bit of this that came out. And that is a little moment of old Ozzy that came out. All the stuff that we loved, we got to be kids and just go in there and almost pay tribute to everything that inspired us. And that's all in there in the songs. Like even, Coming Home, what do you have? You have the beginning, which is kind of an AC/DC-ish, thunderstrucky thing. And I mean, the pre-choruses are so Van Halen.
Yes.
Complete Van Halen. You got the 2 backing vocalists, and I'm the Michael Anthony hitting all the high stuff. And then the lead vocal, and then the guitar riff. You can definitely spot everything that inspired us in it. In Labyrinth, something like that's so Rush.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Then stuff like in Maximus, when it has the long keyboard solo and is just these swelling chords going on and drum beat and just the bass. It's almost like In the Dead of Night kind of thing, and soloing over that. All the things that we're into that affected us as musicians and as music lovers, not even as musicians, but just as listeners. It's something that kind of you end up wanting to pay it back and give people that same feeling that you got from it. So it comes out in some way when you start making your own music. It all just spills out. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you worked with Derek before in other projects?
We jammed together.
Okay.
On Progressive Nation at Sea about 4 years ago on the boat. It was, it was me, Billy, and Mike, and Derek, and Tony Harnell singing, and Tony McAlpine on guitar.
Sorry, yeah.
And what did we do? I think we did Burn and something else. Yeah.
Nice. Well, the reason why I ask, this wasn't a question I had for you for the evening, was just that I find with him, obviously he's a big Eddie Van Halen fan as well too. It's got to be really unique working with him. I mean, he's using the same things that a lot of us guitar players use, like the Eddie Van Halen flangers and the phasers and all delays for accenting a lot of his work. Is it cool as a guitar player working with somebody who plays like a guitar player a little bit? Like, how's that work?
Yeah. That's how I describe him too. It's like he's the greatest guitar player on keyboards.
There you go.
He really is. He is an absolute guitar hero on keyboards.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool because I always love playing with another guitar player. Usually that's what I've done my whole life. Everything that I started on, my first musical loves that made me want to do what I do was Kiss. I was 5 years old. I heard the Kiss Alive album. I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And the Beatles, just for the beauty, the musicality, everything. And both bands, what were they? They were a 4-piece where there were 2 guitar players in it. And I think that's pretty much, it hammered that in for me. My own band, when I'm doing Bumblefoot stuff, there's another guitar player and it's a 4-piece, same kind of thing and the same structure. And that's always what I wanted. I wanted to be in that kind of band. Sons of Apollo, musically is kind of like that, only now the other guitar player is a great guitar player on keyboards.
Exactly.
And we have a phenomenal lead singer, and it just adds that much more now because me and Mike can do all the backing vocals and harmonize and everything. So, and Billy too, he's a great singer too.
He is. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's cool. There's a lot we can do, and I think we've yet to really tap into it.
It's very fresh, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this album was just kind of a getting to know you kind of thing for all of us, where we just jumped in there and just ran on our instincts and didn't second guess anything, and just boom, there's an idea, cool, let's go with it. There's an idea, let's go with it. There's an idea, let's go with it, and put it together. I think the next time around, uh, we had like a week and a half in the studio, and we got 8 or 9 songs done. I think next time, if we have 20 days in the studio, we'll get 15 songs done. And we'll probably push the limit a lot more.
Yeah.
I think right now you're hearing a lot. To me, it sounds like a lot of classic stuff. It sounds like classic prog, classic rock, classic metal. There's an old school flavor to it because it's just what we all grew up on, and that's what came out. I think next time around we'll probably end up digging deeper, and the prog will be proggier, the metal will be more metal, that kind of thing. I could just tell.
I like the fact that you're saying next time, and I think fans are appreciating that because, there's next time already.
Yeah, the album wasn't even out yet, and he's already sending me, like, here's an idea for the second record.
I love
and
it.
he sent me all these videos of him playing some crazy riff.
Yep, that's totally Derek.
Yeah, the guy is a machine when it comes to music. I've never seen anybody with just such a, I don't know how to describe it, unjaded, pure, just, I love music and I just spit it out constantly kind of guy.
He doesn't sit still, does he?
It's refreshing. It took getting used to.
Yep.
Yeah, because I went to the studio and I'm used to struggling a bit. Not struggling like band fighting with each other, but struggling like everybody is just pacing the floor, pulling their hair out, trying to find the right word or the right thing to do next, and just digging so deep. And him is just effortless. It just flows out of him.
Yeah.
And this good, and it got me flowing a lot more. I usually do, when it comes to a guitar riff, like if someone says, we're working together, it's like, what could come next? And, we got this, and I could feed off of that and come up with some riffs, like, cool, great. But with him, it's just like a river of music that just keeps on pouring.
I like that.
Good.
And by hanging around with them, that's very contagious, and that'll affect Billy, that'll affect Jeff, everybody, Mike as well.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So I think there's a lot of potential for us to put out a lot of music, which is good.
It is.
And I do it quick.
Yeah.
That's also good. It's not going to take a year and a half to make an album. It's going to happen in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Which is very good. And that's how it should be. And that's what you realize. Like, we've become so reliant and dependent, and we've just, I don't know if lazy is the word, but just, technology is supposed to be our assistant, and we've made it our boss, and we've made it our leader that we follow instead of using it to just help us in what we do. Mm-hmm. So now it's like you're able to tweak to the point that we just rely on it too much, and instead of just going in and being human, and we spend more time editing than we do performing, and it's not supposed to be that way, and that really holds a lot of shit up, and it also strips away the spirit of things. It's not supposed to be perfectly quantized. It's not supposed to be exact. I could hear stuff on the album that I listen to, and it's like, man, if I could just go in there and just nudge that part. No, leave it alone. Let it be what it is, and let it be real, and let it have the push and pull that people have. I say it all the time. There would be no John Bonham if they were making albums today. And if Led Zeppelin just started now, John Bonham would be a meaningless name, because they would have quantized away all his groove and all his lag of his snare and everything that made him have his feel that he had. You wouldn't hear his ghost notes because they wouldn't be triggering on the fake ass shit drum trigger sounds that they would have replaced all his drums with, and taken the life away from a living instrument that's hit by a living person. That would be gone. There would be no Keith Moon. There would have been no Buddy Rich. There would be none of those guys would not exist today because some schmuck would have just chopped it all away.
Yeah.
And just for the convenience of it. And that's not what we're supposed to be doing. And it's taking away the soul and the humanity and the art and everything we love in music, and it's making it empty and making music very disposable. And we need to get away from that, and we need to realize that we're supposed to be playing, and we're not supposed to be perfect. We're not supposed to do 100 takes. it's supposed to be real. It's supposed to be genuine, not perfect. It's supposed to be genuine. And that's what we need to get back to. We've fallen into that drain of technology, and it's taken away a lot of the humanity and the things that we loved about physical music. When I say physical music, I mean music where the sounds happen because of what you're doing to it.
Yes.
Not your program, but what your touch at that moment is. Rock is the last of physical music. You know, there was blues, there was country, there was rock and roll, there was this, there was that. There's jazz, there's funk, there's punk. If you look at where it reaches its final thing, it really is metal. Metal is the final physical music. It is where it has reached its most intensity, and that's where we're at, and that's what we have. And the next thing after that is EDM stuff and program stuff and hitting a play button and going like this and pretending you're doing something. And yeah.
Yeah. What's funny?
Maybe, you know, I think physical music is going to start moving into that, and they're going to blend and merge together as well, because even with that, people are going to start craving something that's more real. Music, art is supposed to be something that touches you emotionally and spiritually. And if it's just too robotic, everybody is going to feel like they're eating something with no flavor and getting no nutrition out of it, and they're going to start craving shit. And the only thing that's going to satisfy that craving is real stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's my sermon. That's
no,
my.
I love it, and it is funny too how you talk about, like, a great analogy with John Bonham and things like that. So now you look at software today. We all have recording software on our computers, and some people more elaborate than others in real nice studios. But now they're actually trying to put human factors into the software. Put it for drum tracks. Let's put some swing or a real human feel to it to make it feel like it's not a robot, right? Just to make it feel like it's a John Bonham type of a beat, whatever. But the human factor is gone, and all of us are guilty in the digital age. Just because we do. So we can copy and paste, and we do that. What I like you said about analog, I'll use Van Halen as a reference. You know, you go back and you study some of Eddie Van Halen's tracks. Maybe it's Unchained, or maybe it's Running with the Devil or something, and you're listening, because Eddie will usually do things in a certain pattern. He'll follow a pattern, or this is going to be this next verse is going to be just a little slight different from the last one. There'll be a little mistake there, and in today's society, there would be no mistakes. It's going to be copied and pasted or played verbatimly, and I like that. Oops, that was a mistake, and it was left there, and it made the life of the recording.
Yeah, it's not a mistake. It's a beauty mark. It's It's a line in the face, and without that, you don't have a face.
I love that. That's much better. Yeah, that's good.
That's the reality of it. It's like we're so bent on perfection that we forgot that true perfection is not what you see on a grid. It's how it makes you feel.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we should be going for, and that's what we've sort of strayed from, and we need to get back to. It's real quick to cut and paste, but you're losing something much more vital and valuable by doing that.
Exactly.
You don't want it to be necessarily perfect. You want it to be human, unless you don't.
Yeah.
But that's something that we should be going for in, again, physical music.
No different than, not that I know anything about the fashion industry, but any of the, the glamour magazines, the models on the cover, male and female on the cover magazines, there's hardly anything left to that, to the naked eye that's real. It's been so retouched and everything, and you don't really get to see the beauty behind that. Yeah, it works that way too. It's crazy. Now, I know this is probably something you probably don't necessarily have a favorite track, and you've heard so much of your own music coming, going into the studio, preparing for the studio, having all these tunes played back for you in interviews and things like that as well too. But what is one of your favorite tracks from Psychotic Symphony, and maybe it holds a personal value to you?
I think Signs of the Time.
Okay.
Yeah, it was one of the first ones we were working on. It was one where, just for the selfish, self-indulgent side of it all, it's where I got to do my thing the most.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when there's a musical break and I have my moment to say a whole bunch of stuff, 20 seconds and done. And to have a good 2 minutes where it builds and then it pulls down and then builds more, and I feel like I got to do a lot of things that I usually don't get to do.
That's
even
good.
in my own music, I've never or in the past I have, but more recently I've become a little structured. I wouldn't say formulaic,
Right.
but structured.
More regime to it.
Um, I guess with vocal music, most of the time I'm not taking a long solo. Although my last record, Little Brother Is Watching, I do have a song that has like a 3.5 minute solo at the
Oh, wow.
end.
That's a nice one.
So all right, so I just contradicted everything that
Sure.
I've just. Yeah.
That'll happen. No, that'll happen.
But yeah, I think Signs of the Time, there's just a lot of things about it. I think it embodies every side of us. And, it has a lot of heaviness. It has melody. It has a bit of progressiveness in certain areas. Some of the Seven stuff in there. So yeah, that one. And I just like the groove.
Good.
Yeah,
I like it.
I like the beat to it. Again, in some weird way, everything for me goes back to the Beatles. So for me, that's like Ticket to Ride.
Yeah.
Like there's just something at the end of it, a certain thing to it, and it has that. Yeah.
And as far as feeling the beat, if you're standing in front of Mike Portnoy's kid, it's pretty hard not to feel that thunder coming from that thing.
He's got some beats.
He does. Got
some beats.
Yeah, he does. He brings it for sure. I'm going to jump over the chat for a real quick second. There's a bunch of other people jumping in as well to say hi. I'm kind of back with some more questions. We'll talk about the Beatles. And we'll talk about Kiss in a second too. So Cinder's jumping in, says, hey all. And it says, oh, Eric, thank you for the recommendation on their home recording made easy channel. That's really, good channel. I need to watch it more because I need some more tips from him. Jay's Tacos and Guitars. Everyone go subscribe to Jay's Tacos and Guitars. Does some great guitar reviews. It's a new young channel. I'd love to see him grow. What's everyone? He says this is awesome. Guitar Corner. Let me see. Let's go down a little further. Carlos Santon says back again. Hello everyone. Michael Smith says hello there all. Humbucker Lover, another YouTuber with a great guitar channel. Go subscribe to Humbucker Lover. And let me see. Carlos Santon says Bumblefoot. You've stated that EVH is a big early influence. At what point did you decide to take his influence and your own crazy direction? Good question. Oh, there we go. I love it.
Oh, when did it happen? All right, well, I was 5 years old. I heard Kiss Alive, and at that point, that's when I wanted to start making music. By the time I was 6, I had a band together with an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old. We had a band named Target, and we had a big sign in the background that we drew on a window shade and hung it up on the wall. That was our banner. And we wrote songs, we wrote original songs, we made demos, we figured out how to multi-track by having a little cassette recorder right here, play our acoustic guitar in front of it, the drums 10 feet back for levels, and then we would play that back with another recorder right here. And this one would be playing, this would be recording, we put our faces right here and sing along and overdub vocals, and then here was our multi-track of the song. And then we might take that one if we want to make a copy and just play it while this one records, and then just let it dupe. And that's how we did it. And we would do shows in my basement, in my backyard, at the school we went to across the street, and we would spend all day cutting up little pieces of paper, making cups of confetti to throw in the air at the end of the show. We did everything a band would do. We followed our idols. They were our role models, and we followed their lead, and just never stopped and kept on going. So I was more of a, I guess, kind of, Beatles and Kiss and everything else that we grew up on at the time. It was the mid-'70s into the late '70s, and it was a whole lot of great stuff. Everything was great. There was no bad music out there. No matter what kind of music it was great. The late '70s was the best of everything. Whether it was the punk coming out or the classic rock stuff coming out or the funk coming out or whatever it was all great. So I grew up on a lot of that. Playing wise, I was into Hendrix, I was into Angus Young, and I was definitely more of a rock and roll-ish kind of player. And then I remember one time I was 12 years old and someone asked me, you ever hear Eddie Van Halen? I was like, who's that? He's like, well, you know what tapping is? I was like, no, it was tapping. And he showed me tapping, and he's like, yeah, you use your fingertip the same way you do on this hand, and you just hit it down. So I'm doing it backwards. like, no, do this one first and then that. And the first thing he played me, this kid, was Mean Street, the intro.
Oh, wow.
And I had never heard a guitar make a sound like that. I never heard anything make a sound like that. I mean, just, it still boggles my mind because nothing could make a sound like that, particularly the way it was on that record. Nobody can imitate it. Nobody could do it like that. It will never happen like that ever again in the universe.
I think you could be right on that,
yeah. A true moment captured that was just, yeah.
And many times.
In humanity.
Yeah.
And I heard that, and it was just like someone turned on a light in a room in a house in my head that I didn't know was there. And I was just like, holy fuck. And it just changed everything. At that point, I realized that there's more to this thing. There's more ways to express yourself and make sounds and than just the same, coordinated press down the string against the frets and pick them.
Mm-hmm.
And I started really experimenting and exploring. I started building my own weird guitars, taking them apart, putting them back together, doing all kinds of crazy things to them. Started trying to just see just how much you can get a string to talk, how many things you could do to a string, and started coming up with a lot of different techniques. There's one technique I have where I use a little thimble on this finger, and I use that like a mobile fret. Once you've passed the fretboard, you hit this thing down and you get more notes out of the string.
Okay.
If you look on YouTube, you can find, if you just Google Bumblefoot thimble,
okay,
and you'll see some demonstrations of what I do with it. Things like that. Started doing things where like pulling off the frets, and I have one guitar where I just put coins on the neck.
Okay.
And just glue down coins and shave down the edges, so it was sort of like a fretless, just coins, and it sounded like crap, but it was different, something very unusual. I took one guitar where I took a little bass neck, I cut it down at the 7th fret, and then refretted it to be like a guitar an octave higher, and sunk it into the bottom horn of the guitar over here on its own little pickup selector. So that was my double neck, and it was an octave higher, and I would hit that thing. I remember playing at old Lemoore in Brooklyn in like late 80s, and I would switch to that neck, and I would hit these high notes, and everyone in the audience would just be holding their ears because it would just be so piercing and just so screaming, things like that. So I guess that was the initial ideas for a double neck and a fretless, putting that together.
As a catalyst for it.
Over the years, I teamed up with the company Vigier Guitars, Vigier. They're out of France. I've been with them for 20 years. They make all my weird guitars.
Nice.
Thank God I don't have to make them anymore because I was terrible at it. It was real Frankenstein hatchet jobs, and they know how to do it right and do it well. And they started making all my crazy guitars for me. The one that's like a giant flying foot. You bend down the vibrato bar and the wings pop up the sides and things like that. Yeah.
I love that.
So Eddie Van Halen opened that up. It was hearing him that realized that I had permission to do more and to explore more, and you didn't have to stay in your lane. It was all open terrain, and that absolutely I attribute to the effect of hearing Eddie Van Halen. Absolutely. It changed everything I was as a guitar player.
That's incredible. Well, the reference that you gave to is very cool when you talked about, the light bulb went off or the light went on in a room that you didn't know you had. Steve Lynch and I were talking about the very thing last night, except for his way he came up was listening to everything, more than just Van Halen, but listening to everything. And then he got into really profound reading literature of all kinds of fantastic authors. And once he started absorbing all this literature, it opened up these rooms in the houses that he didn't know that he had. The creativity started to flow. So you take things like that, things that you're not normally exposed to. You get a guitar player come along like Eddie Van Halen that everything that he does on paper does not look like it should even work. Like, tapping the way he does and hammering and making notes and noises, like, talking about Mean Streets and percussion. It almost sounds like the drums to Hot for Teacher in a way. It's like, is this a drummer? Is this a combination of a guitar and a drum? What is going on here? So these things just aren't supposed to work on paper, and they do. And you analyze this, if you're like one of these statisticians, this shouldn't work what this guy's doing, yet he does it again and again and again, and keeps reinventing himself too. Yeah, it's crazy, and I'm glad you brought up the thimble, because I haven't seen your thimble trick, and I'll be honest, I'd be lying if I said I did. And Jay's Tacos and Guitars says in the chat, he says, I love the thimble thing Bumblefoot does, crazy stuff. So after the show tonight, I'm gonna look that up, and I wanted to see that in person. So that sounds pretty cool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
There's that. Another thing, I guess, the whole thing about Eddie is he really knew how to use harmonics, that other plane that you find of the guitar string. When I do a lot of workshops and stuff, I talk about the string and how you divide the string and how it affects the frequencies and everything, and divisions, how it's a reciprocal of the multiple of the frequency and all that stuff. Yeah, he got me thinking a lot about tapping and harmonics, and there was a lot of stuff that I would do. Oh my God, my phone is already on 20% battery remaining. I'm gonna have to plug the thing in.
Okay, no problem. Do you want to do that, and I'll go say hi to some more people in the chat?
Yes, please do. I'll be right back.
No problem. Thanks, guys and girls, for your patience here as well too. I'm going to try to remember that question there, Neil. Neil's asking any news on Buckethead. Sounds like he's dealing with some health issues. I'm gonna highlight that so I can ask Ron when he comes back. Welcome to the Bumble from Chris Jones. Vintage Challenge is jumping in, saying, hey, Eric, Bumblefoot, and EVH family. Humbucker Lover says, hey, Chris, Mr. C5150 checking in. Really glad to have you guys back again, too. Very nice to be back 2 nights in a row. Actually, I guess it's going to be 3 nights tomorrow. Vintage Town says, Ron was great and Guns N' Roses. Jay's Tacos Guitars. Okay, I missed what he said there. And I scrolled too fast once again. Lyle Ketchum, in any case, my music is more like Morgan Freeman. Carl Sand, I'm digging the kind of conversation. It's more important issue than just Cure Talk. Hey, thank you. Yeah, we try to mix it all up for sure. And speaking of phones, you on an iPhone there, Ron?
I am, and I not upgraded. I did the update.
Yes, I'm upset with it.
Oh yeah, it's totally killing the phone. It's the thing is like a heater, and is just the battery. You could just watch it dwindle. Oh,
see, I haven't noticed that, but I had a real personal relationship with Siri. We were really tight, and she left. She didn't give me any notice. It's another Siri now, and I haven't gotten over that yet. She didn't give no notice. She's just gone. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of upset about that. I'll get over it though. So Carl Santon says he's digging this kind of conversation, more important issue than just Gear Talk. And there was a question from from Neil Bamber. He says, any news on Buckethead? Sounds like he's dealing with some health issues.
Yeah. I read that. I heard. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know much about that, so. Yeah.
I hope he's okay.
Yeah.
I have no contact with him or anything.
No. Okay. Yeah. Well, all positive, vibes sent that way.
I feel for the guy.
Yeah. Spanky McAllister says, hello, Eric and Ron. Neil Bamber says, I've been working on the intro for Mean Streets for months and can't get it. That was awesome. Yeah, I get people that ask me to do that. I did it before in a tribute band, but they asked me to do it on the show now, and I just take the fifth. I say, no, I'm not going to do it. I can't. I chicken out. You got it.
So it was kind of a... Not quite the same on an acoustic.
But you're hearing those harmonics.
So yes, about the harmonics, what we were talking about before my phone was about to die.
Yeah.
Some of the things that were inspired definitely by Eddie and his great utilization of harmonics and tapping. There was another thing that I would do a lot where I would be resting my finger from over the neck on a harmonic and doing this to get percussive stuff, and I would hit notes and tap notes onto harmonics, and then stuff like that.
I love that.
And you could really hear it on the electric. It gets a good thump thump kind of thump to it all. You get all the bottom and everything. So a lot of things like that. I had one song called Dash where I was hitting like the 22nd fret, So it'd be like a whole step below the high harmonic there. And it's like, that kind of stuff. Yeah, all Eddie inspired. If I didn't hear that initial when I was 12, most of the way I play and the way I started finding my own voice never would have happened. And even then, what is your own voice? It's a culmination of all the things that inspire you. And Eddie was a huge part of that. So definitely, I don't know if I could say I stole a lot from him, but definitely inspired a lot by him. Totally, yeah. For
sure. Can you tip your camera just a little tiny bit for us? We've lost your head there. You're the headless guitarman. Well, there you go. You're just standing up.
There we go.
You're good. Perfect. Well, that's the thing too. Like you took some ideas, but yet you totally made them your own thing. Like just what you're showing there was absolutely amazing. I know there's gonna be a bunch of guitar players probably right now actually in the chat that are trying to put their guitar over, turn their hands over backwards, and try to do that. I like that. It's very cool. Have you? We talked earlier a little about Kiss, and I'm a huge Kiss fan. It comes up here all the time. And Ace Frehley was my first guitar hero. And you mentioned Kiss and the Beatles too. One thing I like about both those bands is everyone was a singer. Every single member in that band was a singer.
Yeah.
Very cool. Maybe some better than others, obviously.
They were all singers and all songwriters.
Yes, yeah. So a nice little comparison there. Have you ever had the opportunity, because you're obviously surrounded by, your peers and colleagues. Have you played with Ace Frehley and or Eddie Van Halen?
Never Eddie, but I did a few times played with Ace.
Nice.
Yeah. In fact, one time it was with Mike Portnoy, and it was for Eddie Trunk's 30th anniversary on the radio bash, and Mike and Billy were putting together a house band, and they had me as the guitar player. So the three of us, that's another part of our history that I think led to Sons of Apollo.
Isn't that cool?
And Ace Frehley came out, and we did a couple of songs. We did Lover All I Can, and it was also with Scott Ian and Frankie Bello from Anthrax.
Oh, wow.
And Frankie does a great Paul Stanley.
Does he?
Yeah.
Wicked.
So we did that. And then we did, actually that one was with, we did Hooligan with Peter Criss.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he told me, he's like, I haven't done that song in 31 years. So that was cool. And it was weird because Ace sat that one out. And I'm playing, and I'm looking at him playing like his guitar solo while I'm looking at him with this look like, you should be doing this.
Yeah.
Why? It's like, I'm looking at you playing your guitar part with your old drummer. And, it was just an odd, surreal thing.
But I bet you he
great
was
playing with them.
I bet you he was looking back, and he probably figured you had it. You had it right on the money.
Tried to keep up.
I love it.
Then another time for an award show, we jammed together. We did some songs. So yeah, we've played. And there was another time before that. I've jammed with a bunch of people. But Ace, it was a good couple of times. Yeah.
That's good, and more power to Ace too. Clean and sober, he's doing very, very good. Healthy, happy. It's great. It's great to have our guitar hero back. Not that he really left, but I mean he's in a good place now. And I remember those original albums that come with the trading cards, Kiss Alive, and some of the other ones. And I remember there was fictitious statements on there, like with their boots, they were 50 feet tall, and all these comic book type of things. And that's what sold me on Kiss. And my parents hated them, like a lot of parents did, because my parents weren't religious by any means. They just didn't like that. It was just too scary. And I had to sneak in my Kiss listenings, and I'd have to listen with headphones, and it's a different world today, but it's very cool, and it's mentioned here on the show all the time. Kiss, and Van Halen, and there's a lot of synergy between the two. Gene Simmons' Vault coming out, containing some of the sessions that Alex and Eddie did.
Yeah,
I'm anxious to hear that. I don't have $2,000 to go buy that Vault or whatever it is after that, so I'm just waiting for someone to say, hey, I got a copy, want to come and hear it? You know what I mean? Start taking donations now. This is really cool too. We get some people on the show that obviously don't know all of our guests. Citizen Kane says he's not too familiar with your work, but he says that's why I love about Eric's show. So I'd like to introduce you to other new artists, and not that you're new artists, but a new guest to the show. Here's a question. Ron Data says Ron's signature Vigier is an incredible guitar. Are there other artists, like I know the name of the guitar, but are there other artists that are endorsing that brand as well too?
Let's see. Who else has used that? Sean Lane.
Mm-hmm.
He was playing Vigier's. Guthrie Govan's got one or two of them. I believe Roger Glover.
Okay. Yep.
Bass. The bass player of the Knack.
Oh, great on.
Yeah, he had who else? Was it John Avila from, was it Oingo Boingo?
Okay.
And yeah, an interesting array of people. And there's a lot of just great guitar players out there that use them. There's a guy, Frederick Pill. There's Mark Meesters out in Holland, fantastic singer, guitar player. There's a ton of people using them.
Well, that's good. So they're certainly doing well with the artists. That's good. Good to hear.
Richard Dodd, that makes those funny videos of like B.B. King plays Malmsteen.
Okay, yeah.
He uses them. Yeah, he's an old friend of mine for like 20 years. In fact, we just hung out. He has a school in the south of France, and I went down there. Yeah, great guy, phenomenal player. Yeah.
I love that concept. It was almost like the wars, right? Who's going to win? Yeah, that's great. Lau Ketchum says he's found several players on the show that he hasn't known about, and that's why he keeps coming back. So he kind of, discovers some new music for sure, and I love that. Tone Bolt says that foot guitar is a real favorite of mine.
Nice.
Let me see. David Ennis, hey Eric, loving the show. Let me see here.
It's
nice.
Cool. This kind of thing where, there's always some first way that people discover each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you never know how you're going to discover a new guitarist or a new band, and sometimes it's just not in an expected place.
Exactly.
But always that first time.
Yeah.
And it's the same for me. I mean, I get to know things too. I get to know people. I get to, So it's good. It works both ways. So it's a pleasure to get to know you all as well.
Yeah, it's reciprocal, and that is true. And I think it's very selfish of any of us if we discover something new, anything in art. Art should be shared, music especially. A new guitar player you find, you pass it on. You hog that to yourself, and you're kind of doing an injustice. So it's cool. You're learning something new here by a new little talk show here, a small little show. Some people that love you as well, and some other people coming in by accident. Hey, who's this? Let's check this out. And all of a sudden, you get some more hits on Facebook. And who's this? We got to check it out. And new fans.
Well, I mean, that's the nature of music. That's what it's about. It's
Mm-hmm.
about connecting everybody. And there's some certain satisfaction, this feeling like we are being true to why we exist when we share stuff. And you make that connection and you turn somebody on to something. It's very satisfying, down in your core.
Yeah.
Something we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Eric Gruber in the chat says, agreed to Citizen Kane. It's cool how one guitarist, in this case Eddie, has influenced so many, and then a channel like this opens musicians up to seeing and learning about other musicians. And here's something that I say a lot too. Some people get, when I reach out to guests, and sometimes they'll say, it's the EVH Gear TV show, and they'll get scared right off the get-go because they'll say, but I don't do Eddie Van Halen stuff, or I don't have any of his gear, or this or that. And that's why I say, hey, hold your thought. Don't get scared. It's nothing to do with that. What the nucleus of this show is, and I've kind of given you the idea as we've talked before, but it's like, okay, how has Eddie inspired you as a guitar player, or as a keyboard player, or as a manufacturer? I'm a pedal maker, or I'm a amplifier maker. How has he inspired you? And then everyone has an answer to that. I had Sean Tubbs on the show, who's a Nashville player, plays with Carrie Underwood. You wouldn't expect him to be an Eddie Van Halen guy, but yet he worships the ground he walks on, right? You don't have to be playing the licks on a nightly basis to appreciate it. He's probably responsible for a lot of people picking up the guitar, and then they've done their own thing with it, which is phenomenal. So that's what the whole nucleus comes around. And we talk about Eddie Van Halen a little bit. What's your favorite album, your favorite tone period, and then Ron, what's happening in your world, and that's what brought us here. So it's fun. Yeah, nice little circle. Max Reverse says, great show. Don Shepard, another great show. Humbucker Lover says, hey, David. Thomas Santiago, awesome show. We're still getting a unanimous awesome show. I love it. Thank you very much. Okay, here's a question. And this is something I gave up on as a kid. Once Tablet Shirt come out, I converted to the dark side. Michael says, can ask Ron if he reads music.
I'm just going to change my sitting right here. Do I read music? Yes, I do. I can read music. I used to be much better at sight reading, but I do read music. In fact, I took my very first album that came out about 22 years ago. It took 6 months, and I transcribed the whole thing, the notes, the musical notation, the fingers, the picking, and the tablature to every single part that was played on that thing. It's 200 pages, and it's some crazy shit. But yes, absolutely, I am a note reader. Yes, I am.
And important too, because I saw something. I don't know who this drummer is. I have to apologize. I don't know a lot of drummers. So I know some, but I don't know the names. And this was just a tweet on Twitter the other day, and it was the drummer that was when Motley Crue was touring, and I forget the name of the band that was opening for Motley Crue, but Tommy Lee had some tendonitis, a couple shows, whatever, and the drummer that was the opening band got a call from one of the techs that day, said, "We need you to sub tonight for Tommy Lee. Can you do it?" And did it for about 2 or 3 shows. And what this young drummer was doing, it was his PSA to young aspiring musicians out there. He says, "Kids, I read music. I was able to make cheat sheets and charts, and I do read, and that's the importance of being able to read," because he was able to do a very stellar job. And you see Tommy Lee giving him a fist bump after the show. So
speaking of that, I've been in that boat. There was a band I played with for a while. When I first started doing tours, when we started playing together live in 2006, they had an album that they were working on, and called Chinese Democracy.
Oh, I heard that little record.
We were going to be playing about 7 songs that were unfinished at the time, still demo stage. And I had to learn the songs, but they were so worried about stuff getting leaked out. They didn't know me yet. They didn't want to give me a copy of the music.
There's trust there.
Well, you know what? It wasn't even about me. It was just their policies, like, do not let any music out. So I had 1/2 hour with a set of headphones and a piece of paper and a pen and the road manager's laptop to learn these 7 songs and go out and play them in front of 100,000 people.
Goodness.
For 3 months. And that was it. So as I listened, I'm writing music out. I'm making, mostly besides just the notes, it's about the rhythmic notation. That's the major part of it. Biggest part of it. And just quickly just charting out, just bracketed eighth notes and rests and this and that and just, notes above it and little notes to myself like "Hey Bulldog" as a reminder for the riff that goes in the song. To me, reminded me of "Hey Bulldog" from the Beatles. Little things like that, just reminders as well. So yeah, you have to know how to get through a situation like that. Actually, you don't have to know how to, but it'll help you a lot if you do.
Certainly.
It's highly recommended, I should say. It's highly recommended to know your shit, know how to read, know how to transcribe, know how to transpose, know how to this, know how to that, know how to work with music, know the language, know how to communicate the language. The whole thing. It helps, especially in a situation where you're suddenly called upon to be some kind of superhero. Unless you have, Rain Man stuff going on, you're going to need pen and paper.
Yeah.
Unless you could, look at something and have it memorized, or I should say pretty much a whole album and listen to it once and memorize it.
Yeah.
If you could do that, God bless it. But most people are going to need pen and paper and a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
Or 2 or 10.
Yeah.
I had them on the side fills on the side of the stage. I had these pieces of paper. And when we would be about to do a song, I would quickly just take a look and just glance at it and be like, all right, I think I remember this, and just follow everybody. And yeah, that's how I got through the first shows with Guns, doing the songs that weren't on albums. Yeah.
That's the thing, having a toolkit with all these things, like everything you just said, they're being able to read, being able to adapt, being able to do this. All those things are different tools in the kit. Everyone's going to be showing up for an audition with a different toolkit, and and there's other things that we don't even think about too. It's personality, to be able to work with people, that kind of stuff. So those are other weapons in the toolkit. So you obviously did a fantastic job. We don't have to even question how you did there. So
I did my best. That's all you could do.
Oh no, you
do your best with who you are in that situation at that time.
Yeah,
that's all you can do.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I tried, but it's not just knowing how to read. It's really understanding what it all means.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing how to read music is great. It's like knowing how to read a foreign language and knowing what the sounds mean, like what the sounds are.
And
But you need
comprehension.
to really know what it means. You have to understand music. You have to dig deep and you have to hear it in your head. You have to know what it sounds like without an instrument. You have to know what it feels like. You have to know that if you're gonna, go to a dominant seventh with a flat five, it's gonna give it a little bit of edge and a little bit of craziness. That kind of stuff. You have to know on the simplest level, major, minor, happy, sad, whatever it is, that kind of stuff. A second or a ninth, embraceable or introverted, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Have a definite sense of not just what it looks like on paper, but what it feels like when you hear it. That's really the important part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And having the ability to, reading obviously is skill number one, but like you say, what it looks like on paper, then you have to feel it. I remember years ago working in music retail, one of the things we sold was, big Clavinova type pianos. And, some young parents would come in, young little daughter, and they'd say, okay, here, we want to buy a Clavinova for the daughter. And, daughter, go play something for us. And she's, well, I didn't bring my music, Mom. And and she couldn't play anything until she got music. Now that's great. She could play anything just like the record, but without it, she was lost. So I think there's that. You have to have the math skills, the mind skills, but also you need to be able to fight your way out of a wet paper bag with the improv skills. And here's an example of a guitar player I really like. I don't know his theory background. I'm sure he is very versed, but Joe Satriani is one of my favorite guitar players because I think if you're going to have a head-cutting duel with him and a bunch of other guitar players, I think he's going to win in a lot of cases because he can improv like no other.
Definitely.
Yeah, I really like him for his improv. Here's a question from Vintage Sounds, and I know the answer to this, and I won't say it because I was reading your bio today, but he says, did Ron write the music for the metal show?
Oh, yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
The theme.
All right, we'll get to hear it.
That was on the Frettless. That was one of the first things I wrote on my very first Fretless guitar about 19 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, that was a song called "A Day to Remember," and we just took out the vocals and edited it to fit the show intro, and yeah, so that is one of my songs, the theme to that metal show. My music has been in weird places.
It has.
That a lot of people don't know. They've heard my stuff and they did not know it. What else?
Hey, tell us. Let's hear some.
There's a show on Spike TV called MXC.
Not sure. No.
It had an intro. Post-punk. That was one of my songs too. A song called Puke. And that was a theme song to a TV show. My music has been a lot of times on WWE, Raw, and SmackDown. It was once on Oprah Winfrey. It was on So You Think You Can Dance. It was on Tom Brokaw. It was on NFL. It was on MLB. It was on NHL. In fact, the Islanders 2008 to 2009 series, all their promos was my original music on there.
Wow.
My music has been in a lot of places. Yes.
Last night I brought this up with Steve Lynch, and this is very cool too because that's the music in unexpected places is awesome because who knows where it's going to be discovered. So the metal show, Eddie's show there, people tune into that. That's a really cool guitar riff. I wonder who that guitar player is. And with Steve Lynch last night, we're talking about video games. Video games are huge. I shouldn't say we all, but a lot of us play them. And, like NHL hockey games and the basketball games, the crazy Grand Theft Autos and all that kind of stuff. There's great licensed music in that, and that's why some of these games are expensive because there's the licensing fees. But you get to hear some bands. One of my very good friends on the show here, Darren Moore, he's on here all the time. He's one of the moderators. He discovered Van Halen. He's 20 years old right now. He discovered Van Halen through one of those rock bands, or I always forget the name, Guitar Hero or something. He discovered
Guitar Hero rock band.
Yeah, Van Halen from a game. So who cares how you've discovered these artists, yourself included. Cool. But there you go. I love it.
That's the best thing about those games is that it really did, it made a whole other generation aware of a lot of music, a lot of stuff that they never would have heard, and they got to interact with it. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Then you have Smith where they get to play a real guitar and do it.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of neat.
Good stuff.
A couple other questions over in the chat. I'm going to sacrifice a lot of my questions tonight for the fans. I would rather get more fans' questions out here. Justin Gardy says, same question as he asked last night with Steve. Has Bumblefoot had a chance to play any of the EVH gear, whether it be the amplifiers or guitars? Have you tried anything from the brand?
I have. I've played a bunch of 5150s. I've played, I've tried the signature guitar. So you got one back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
Nice.
Love them. Yeah, such good stuff, and the amps just so good.
I think you'll see one in every studio along with a bunch of others.
Yeah, those things really cook.
Yeah. And the new EL34 50 watt just came out, and everyone's losing their minds over that thing. You know, it's a little quieter. You know, the EL34 it's got the classic tone, so people are just losing their minds over that. Stores aren't going to be able to keep those in stock. Very cool. Citizen Kane's making a Kiss comment, says Kiss was a marketing machine. I wonder how much they made on merchandising alone. Well, one of the things I like about Van Halen was the merchandising, and when Noel Monk come in the band, getting those guys, Van Halen didn't even know what merchandising was about. And as you know from the groups you've played with, and all these other juggernaut acts that are out there, merchandising is crucial. Do you think bands these days, Kiss is a different example because Kiss kind of almost invented that wheel in a way to the level they have today. Are bands still making a killing off the merchandise, or is that the labels and the management and stuff like that making the money?
I think, well, it's funny because I always joke that musicians are traveling T-shirt salesmen.
I love that.
And I remember in the 80s, it was a guitar player in a pretty popular band. They had a bunch of songs on the radio and videos on MTV, and they were doing great. And the guitar player was saying how they don't make any money other than from T-shirts.
Okay.
Because the label invests in everything and has to recoup. Back then, they would also give tour support and recoup that, and manager taking the cut of this. Everyone's getting a piece of everything except for the T-shirts. So really, they were just traveling T-shirt salesmen. Now, 30-something years later, what do you have? Labels are broke. They have no money to invest in anything. The artists are more evidently than ever on a life support system that is fueled by the fans, which it always was. It just went through so many other middlemen before it got to the band. But now you're dealing with such smaller numbers. Take 2 zeros away from everything they used to be. Mm-hmm. So bands are out there and they're either crowdfunding to have the money to do what they need to do. And ultimately, most of the bands out there, everything they're paying off and they're doing this and that. And it's the only thing that's keeping them afloat are the T-shirt sales. So it's almost like point A and point B are the same. It's just everything in between changed. And still in the end, you're a traveling T-shirt salesman.
Yeah, I like that.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's totally good.
Kiss is a different example.
We make music for the love of it. We sell T-shirts so that we could eat.
That's right. That's good.
That we could still afford to keep making music.
That's right.
That's the unfortunate reality of it all, but that's the reality. We hate talking about money when it comes to music. It just pollutes it and makes it feel so corrupt and not genuine. But every motherfucker's got to eat.
I know.
And
that's right.
And hopefully you can do it through your music and just have the system that's self-sustaining, where there's enough funds coming in to keep the music going. It's not about getting rich or greed or anything like that. I think for pretty much every musician, all they want to do is get as much money as they can to reinvest into it so that they could do even more.
Yes.
Who are they doing more for? They're doing it for you. They're doing it for everybody. They're doing it for the big family of fans that they have, that they just want them an even bigger and better experience. And that's really what it is.
Yeah, and their passion for the instrument a little bit too.
You know, most musicians I know, they would rather starve themselves and feed the music.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
definitely. That's pretty much how it is. You know, most of them they'll drive a crappy car and print up extra CDs or make the shirts just a little bit nicer, something like that. You know, they don't put it into themselves.
I agree with that. When Rudy Sarves was on the show last week, he said almost a spitting image of that. He said when he got into the business, he wasn't looking forward. He didn't have the aspirations of greatness and rock star and everything else. He loved playing the bass, and he doesn't like not having a bass in his hands. And all his dreams were to play the bass, make a couple bucks so he had food on the table, and allow him to eat enough that he could go up the next night and play again, put some a little bit more food on the table, and you know, look where he went. Look where a lot of you guys go when you have that that attitude.
And the thing is, it's not up to us. It's up to everybody else.
Nope.
You just do what you do, and if people like it and if they value it, they'll invest themselves in it, and they'll invest in the relationship with that music and the people making the music. And that's it. It's up to them. So you don't know what's going to happen. Nope. You could pour your heart into stuff and it may not make enough so that you could feed yourself, or it could make enough where you could feed 100 people and have a nice big crew and put on a nice big show. But whatever it is, it's not up to the musician. It really is.
It's throwing it up in the air and see what happens. It's like throwing spaghetti at the wall. It might stick and some's going to fall behind the stove. You know?
And the thing, you could argue the point and say, well, but if you have a lot of money to promote it and everything like that, yeah, but you know what? If you're still promoting something people don't dig, it's not going to go anywhere.
Nope.
And if you don't promote it a lot, but people really like it, they're all going to be telling their friends, and just word of mouth is going to spread. And you could say that the best promotion you can have is putting out something of quality, something that people care about, something that moves people, that makes them want to talk about it. That should be your promotion, and that is your currency. That is your you know, if you want to talk about a marketing budget.
Yeah.
It's not about dollars. It's about, you know, have some fucking quality in what you do.
Agreed.
And if people feel that same way, if they think it's good, that's your promotion. By just doing what you do the best you can, and if you're doing it right and people like it, then see what happens from there.
Yeah. Wasn't too many things I learned from my father. I mean, I loved my dad and everything, but I never really learned a lot of advice from him. But one of the things he taught me in life was do something right the first time. And as a kid growing up on a farm, he would tell me to go out and, you know, collect rocks out of the field so the machinery didn't get, you know, damage going over these rocks and stuff. I'd go out and I'd be 15 minutes. I'd come back, Dad, I'm done my job. And he's like, no, you're not. And he would make me go out 10, 15 times that day to get it done right, whereas I could have did it once in an hour properly, or 2 hours. You know, so do your job, do it right the first time. You know, go into a musical project. Don't just go through the motions. Give the best product that you can, and it will reap the rewards. Whether it might not be financial, but you'll have a fan base, you'll have support, you'll have investment, like you say. People will invest in you.
And it's just the details. Pay attention to the details. The details matter a lot. But the thing is, even that, it's not about doing it for what you can get out of it.
No.
There's an honor in doing things the best you can do it. That's just inherent in our being. And that's what drives us.
Satisfaction.
As people. And it's about that. And you'll notice there's a big difference with certain types of musicians, or people, really just people, because people are musicians, and it's ultimately the kind of person you are. You find that most of the successful musicians that are out there, living and dead, all they cared about is what else can they give to the world. They never thought about what they can get. The giving, getting, and it's what can I give, to the point that they had things planned for after they died that they would still give. That kind of stuff. That is the spirit of a real musician. When you have the people that are like, what can I get out of this? Those are the ones that are never gonna get that far.
A short shelf life.
Yeah. They'll get to a certain point, and people are just not going to want them around because that's just not the kind of human being you want around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, if you think about it, if everybody gives, everybody gets.
Yeah.
You're getting from each other. If everyone tries to get, if everyone is just taking, eventually there's nothing.
That's right. No, very good. Very, very good point. Vintage Sounds in the chat asks, he's talking about another crazy guitar player, says, hey Eric, ask Ron if he's ever played with Zakk Wylde. You've probably shared some stages with him.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, one time on a show on Fuse TV, what was the name of the show? I'm having a brain fart. Because now I have that metal show in my head.
Yeah, no problem.
What was it called? It was a great show.
Google it, guys, in the chat. Someone go Google it. Fuse TV, Zakk Wylde.
Yeah, it was my friends Mark Striggle and John Astronomy were the hosts.
Okay.
Cornabio was one of the producers there, and I was on the first episode of it. Talking Metal, thank you.
Okay.
Talking Metal on Fuse, great show. One of the episodes Zakk Wylde was on. He was just supposed to be on there for an hour, and it ended up being 14 hours that we were all hanging out, and ended up writing a song together. Right there where he played piano, I played acoustic guitar, and made a song and all recorded and everything. It's on YouTube. You can find it.
It's not Taste of Metal, is it?
The song was called In the End.
No, but the show, was it Taste of Metal?
Talking Metal.
Okay, my buddy Brian Bieber, Chef Brian, he does Taste of Metal. I wasn't sure if it was the same show. Okay.
No.
Okay, different show. Okay.
This was about 10 years ago.
Gotcha. Okay, so different. Yeah.
So we did that. Also, one time, Zakk came up with Guns and we jammed, and we played together. And I've known a lot of the guys in Black Label. JD is an old friend. I knew Nick when he was in the band, and yeah, Zakk is a great guy. Great guy.
Wicked.
Yeah. So we've had a couple of good hangs.
Good. Yeah. I love watching this stuff on social media too. He comes across as this guy, this big burly dude, and I mean, just a lot different than his early Ozzy days. And then you get to hear him, the interaction he has with other people. He's like this little sweet, guy. You know what I mean? It's pretty. There's different sides.
He's got a heart to go.
Yeah. He seems great. Draws Beaker's jumping in. Seventh Oasis. Jeff Scott Soto's a great vocalist. Agree with that. Carlos Santon has a really good question. I love this, and this could be a very profound one for tonight. He says, Bumblefoot, when you feel like you're getting into a creative rut, how do you get yourself out of it? And I know everyone gets into it.
That is a tough one. We all get. There's been times where I just didn't write anything for a year and a half. When you're in the rut, well, what all the prolific people say, the comedians, the writers, they all say, do it every day, no matter what. Even if you think it sucks, every day make something. The writers would say, every day write a page. Comedians would say, every day write a joke. Even if it's a bad joke, just write a joke to keep yourself in the constant state of letting it out.
Yeah.
And I think once we stop doing that, it's very hard to start back up. Once we keep doing it, it's almost hard to stop. It's like working out at the gym. If you go every day, you can't imagine not going until the first day you don't go. And then the next day, maybe I'll just take another day off, and then another day. And it's very easy to make our own ruts. But there's a few things to keep in mind. When it comes to looking for inspiration, it's always there. It's around you constantly. Every time you breathe, everything you look at, everything you smell, everything that happens is inspiration. Anything. Throw a pick in the air.
Yep.
It just fell and hit the strings and then fell between my legs. That's a song waiting to be written.
That's right.
But it's up to me if I'm willing to find something in that could lead to a story and embrace it. So it's not that we're waiting, we're always waiting for inspiration to come to us, but it's always there. We just have to see it.
Yes.
and accept it. And we don't. That's the problem, is when you realize that every single fucking thing around you is inspiration. Every moment, everything is inspiration, but it's up to you to acknowledge it. It's there. You're just not looking at it. So that's something that you might want to even consider. So take that in mind and then say, all right, I must write today anything.
Yes.
You put that together, and that could keep you from falling too deep into the rut.
Yeah.
Because we're all going to get in the rut, but just you don't want to get too far into that hole.
That's right. You'll be stuck. There's two things I'll share with you. Number one, Steve said the same thing last night as well too. Always be writing, and he said every hour that you invest in practicing, you spend that at equal time writing. So whatever you practice, write. So you're taking in, you're letting out. And a guitar player, I'm going to send you a link to his channel later on. He's a very good friend of mine, and he's been an inspiration, a phenomenal guitar player. He's from the UK. His name's Jay Palmer, and he's not in the chat now because he's obviously overseas with different time. It's tomorrow morning there sometime, or it's late in the morning. But he does inspirational things on his channel as well as teaching like George Lynch licks and things like that. But his inspirational videos he does, not just about guitar, just life in general. Like you said, knowing how to recognize signs of inspiration. He's into different things like meditation and just all kinds of things where turning on receptors that you normally would not open. And I think a lot of people could learn a lot. If you're ever getting into a rut, check this guy out, and I'll share it with you too because I think you'll appreciate it too. Not to mention he's a great guitar player. Here's a comment from the chat. Tone Bolt says, EVH Gear TV, please let Ron know I appreciate him taking the time to do this. Very grateful, and myself and all of us are. So thank you for that.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. First of all, if you didn't invite me on, I wouldn't be here. So thank you. And if you all weren't watching, there wouldn't be this. So thank you all.
I said that very thing today. You know, we're very honored to have you, and I actually
part of it.
Yeah, thank you. I said today on Facebook, I said if the people that are here right now that like, that comment, that share are the lifeblood of this show, and if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be here today because it just wouldn't happen because we'd have no one to watch. So we appreciate it very much. Single Coil Lover, who is the better half of Humbucker Lover. You got to love those two names, right? Humbucker Lover and Single Coil Lover. And if when their younger one grows up, maybe he can be the whammy bar or the whammy bar lover or whatever. So she says, listening with Humbucker Lover, just saying hi and leaving a great show and thumbs up, really nice. Nemtal says, good interview, and he has a guitar in his hand. Yes, we like that, and we can't always have players, and with an acoustic, it's nice to, you don't have to plug in and have to worry about, all the sound and everything. Let me see. Brian Watson has Ron got to collaborate with Buckethead yet? I know last year he said he wanted to. Have you had a chance to yet?
No.
No? Okay.
That was something in like 1998. I think I gave him a copy of my album I had just put out called Hands.
Okay.
Either he had it or I gave it to him or something. But the following year I saw him at NAMM, and he said he really dug it, and he asked me if I would sing on his stuff. So I was like, yeah. So we traded numbers and called him, got his machine, and never heard back. Tried him again, didn't hear back. Gave it like a month, 2 months. Gave him another call and didn't hear back. And turns out he had joined Guns.
Oh, okay.
Either that or he just didn't want to call me back.
What's happening? Give him a call, man. Here's the name. Do you know Adam?
Yeah, that would have been the time that we would have worked together.
Yeah.
And I'm still, of course, always open to it. I mean, the guy's phenomenal, and it would be a pleasure to work with him. And
yeah,
I think we've come up with some interesting stuff together. But
I'll bet.
But no, I mean, but it's a question of schedules more than anything. Yeah. And besides that, I mean, the desire to people have to mutually want to.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, even when they want to, is when people are busy out there doing stuff,
logistics,
waiting for the planets to align, when everybody's off tour and has a free minute that doesn't get filled with other stuff, that takes a good minute.
Yeah, it's a small window that can be open there, and when you choose to open it or accept it, then that's the question. Here's one of our dear brothers here in the chat. Do you know Adam Reaver from FU Tone?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just probably two guitar players on planet Earth that don't know him. Everyone else does, so he's in here. Adam, great to have you as always.
Oh, cool. What's up, Adam?
You know what? And I'm starting to. I think it's the Canadian in me. I'm probably the only person on the planet that calls his products Futone. Fu tone. But I'm starting to stop that. I'm forcing myself to say fu tone, and Adam doesn't care as long as the orders are coming through. He doesn't care what you call it. But Adam, it's great to have you as always, buddy. Bane rocks, who's my little man, and he's teaching me music. He's saying hello fu dash tone. He's giving us the horns up. Let me see here. So Bane rocks is obviously going to be a new fan of yours, discovering your music and your catalog. I got a couple questions actually I wrote down that were from the Facebook page. One is, there's two from Chris Vernon. Chris Vernon says, and you kind of touched on this, but he says, where does the fretless inspiration come from?
Well, it is just another way of speaking. It's like learning a second language in a way. Mm-hmm. Everything comes out a little different. You are not bound by the fixed pitches. You have that openness, and you can do a whole lot with it. Each one, there's something you can do with one that you can't do with the other. I like that you can just pretty much have a slide on every fingertip and be dragging around chords or dragging around harmonics. You can play chords on them. Mm-hmm. Simply, if you want to get in the practice of that, put your fingertips exactly where the frets are for a chord. And that is how you should shape them on a fretless, because your fingers are going to be the frets. They're wherever you're pressing down, that's where the string is going to vibrate from. Okay. So that's going to provide the pitch. So you want to get those exact. So one way you can practice, if you want to get used to just the spacing that's going to be a little bit different, is to play right on the frets where you're centering your fingertips, right on where the frets are. And for chords, you'll find, let's say a D chord, instead of playing it like this, mm-hmm. what you need to do is you need to push this finger forward and take this one and pull it back a little bit and make it more like that for it to sound in key once you're playing without the frets. So little things like that you want to get down. The vibrato, everything on a fretless, it's more like a cello. You're playing along the length of the string. You never bend. In fact, you don't have to bend, because you would just slide mm-hmm. up to you think you would bend to and beyond. So that's pretty much your vibratos from your fingertip, and it could, if you're just giving it like that, or if you're going really wide, mm-hmm. You'll hear it. Yeah. Definitely, you can get into a lot of tension and things, moving around unisons that aren't quite nailed, and they're just shaking a little bit from the waves being just slightly out from each other. Gives it a little growl to the throat. As you're dragging and sliding notes with a pinched harmonic, and those overtones are dragging with them, and you could really hear them. There's a lot of expression you can get. In fact, go on YouTube again, mm-hmm. listen to the solo for the song "Little Brother Is Watching." That one I'm doing a fretless solo on there, and you mm-hmm. can hear it. Yeah. We'll check that one out. That's what you want to check out as an example.
Yeah, I like the way you're describing the vibrato, and you're telling me that off here too. So that's a very, very cool technique. And also from Chris, this is kind of a cool question. Chris Vernon says, and we know you're in a super group right now. You're getting to play with some of the best musicians out there. But he says, dead or alive, who would be your super group of band members? So you can pick some past members that are no longer with us. So you want to form a super group today. Who are you going to have? I know you probably got John Bonham on drums, but that's a given, I'm sure.
Could be John Bonham. Mm-hmm. Could be Neil Peart.
Okay, I like it.
Bass. Could be Jocko. Could be
Stanley Clark.
Could be Flea.
Okay, yeah.
There's so many. God. Actually, no. Mohini Day. Okay. Mohini Day on bass. If you don't know who that is, check her out. She's probably the greatest bass player alive right now. She's a 20-year-old that has a soul of someone that's been playing 100 years. Wow. She's incredible. So her on bass. That's it. Her on bass. Maybe Chopin on piano. Nice. Why not? He's good with the 3 against 4 and all of that. Vocals. That's a tough one. There's so many great vocalists out there and been there. I think I would want George Harrison in there somewhere.
Oh, very nice.
Definitely. Somebody's got to write the songs.
There you go. Yep.
and he's going to do it best.
I think so.
I always say that Lennon and McCartney, they spoke a lot, but when George Harrison did speak, it was something so profound that it just, yeah.
Yeah. Good answers, man. That's some super good. And there's still more. I mean, there's so many.
Oh yeah. Who else can we get in there?
There is no limit. You got piano.
Let's see. So we got them. I don't want to be in the band. I just want to sit back and watch them.
There you go. That's cool.
Guitar. Could be a couple of guys in there. Also, you could have John Sykes, because nobody can make a Les Paul squeal like that fucking guy.
Nice.
And on vocals. Who else? I mean, this could keep growing, be a bigger and bigger band. I'd like to have Eric Adams from Manowar on vocals.
Okay.
Who else? Maybe Stevie Wonder's got to be in there somewhere.
I think that'd put some nice flavor to it.
Doing something. This is like traveling Wilburys on crack.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like, what is this band?
Now these guys and girls are all going to get along. That's the next thing.
How could they not? They would have such tremendous respect for each other.
True.
Yeah,
I love it.
Each one would blow the other one away and just be like, "Oh my god, that's amazing."
It'd be a real creative stew for sure.
Yeah.
Love it. So there you go.
So yeah, we can do that.
All right.
We'll start with that.
Perfect. I'm going to jump back over the chat for a quick second. Seventh Oasis says, look for influences to inspire. Justin Gardy says, going through the gym thing now. Rocamp 56 is good evening, Eric and Ron. Sorry late to the show, no problem. And Rocamp 56 looking forward to the new CD with the new band. If you're referring to Sons, it's a great record. Doing very, very well. Reviews, phenomenal. Links are actually, too, as well, in the description for all of Ron's properties, including Sons of Apollo. So there's everything you can think of. Even Reverb, everything is in there. So go have a look down below. We're probably about 8 minutes away from wrap up of the show. Island Winder says Bumblefoot Swiss cheese guitar was awesome. That's one of the first guitars I think I saw of yours. I think that's maybe how I kind of discovered you.
Yeah, that was, let's see, I think first time, that had to be around 1989. I think it was, the August 89 issue of Guitar Player magazine. Mike Varney did a write-up in the Spotlight. And I was about 19 years old, and he put me in there. I sent him my demo, and
perfect.
So the Swiss guitar, which was an Ibanez Roadstar, it was a 1983 Ibanez Roadstar, and I just chopped it up and did all kinds of wacky stuff to it, and drilled holes in it and painted it yellow, and oddly it sounded good. It had a personality to it. And that was the main guitar that I would tour with and record with and do everything with for about 13 years.
Wicked. And it looked pretty
cool
cool too.
Me, I think about $180 or something like that.
Wow. Yeah. It goes to show you, I mean, Eddie Van Halen showed us that as well too. A piece of wood in the neck. It doesn't exactly have to be state of the art to sound good, right? Look what he's done with it. Look what you did with it. Look what a lot of these guys are doing with it. And what you said earlier, too, about taking your guitar apart and tinkering with it. A lot of guitar players on the show, they come to the show and they'll ask me and ask my guests and things like that, how do I do this? What should I do with my pickups? And blah, blah, blah. And as we will give advice, we love to give advice. Another thing I always say, too, is, I don't want to be responsible for breaking a guitar if you break something, but take some guitars apart. Learn the mechanics of it. Don't be afraid to experiment with soldering, and doing your electronics. I mean, worst thing you can do is mess up. You still take it to your guitar tech anyways, and they'll save you, and hopefully won't rake you over the coals over it if you go to a good place. But, yeah, it's good to learn that. It's like, I'm not much about cars, but it's a good thing to know about your car if you need to fix the engine, if you're stuck on the side of the road, right? You know, instead of calling AAA all the time. For some people, that's... Yeah, for sure. Here's a question. First of all, Vintage Sound says, actually, FU Tone says, yeah, man. Vintage Sound says, thanks for sharing all your inspiration to get better on guitar playing. Eric and Bumblefoot, great show tonight. Thank you. Justin Girardi says, what's Ron's favorite Van Halen song or his favorite era of Van Halen? So was Mean Streets up there on the top?
Definitely Women and Children and Fair Warning.
Okay.
there was just this raw intensity about it. It was, but then you listen to Dive It Down and the Full Bug and
That's a great
stuff like
album.
that, and that one.
Mm-hmm.
Every damn album had great stuff on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you choose?
I know. Which one's your
every
favorite
single
child?
one. But I would say, if anything, I would probably, if I had to just put on one album right now, it would most likely be one of those two, Women and Children or Fair Warning.
Fair Warning for me in a nutshell, and I have ultimate respect for Women and Children first because that's how I discovered Van Halen. I discovered him right there on that record. Wasn't even my record. My cousin was playing Incredible Rock on the record. I was like, what is this? And that's not even my favorite song anymore. I say this a million times in the show, but I have respect because of that. I love that.
Can't bend it straight to too
You got it.
Baby, please, can't take it anymore. Baby, please, can't take it anymore. I take it whiskey on the morning night. Somebody squeeze. Oh, that stuff was so just. So
Dude, that was great. Romeo Delight.
Yeah.
That's good. Guys, you got to give some thumbs up just for that alone, for that performance right there.
Oh, what else? Now we could just go through like every album and just start playing. Yeah.
And you're doing it great. You're doing it great justice on the acoustic as well too. Love it. Humbucker Lover says, "Hey Eric, great show as always. Got to lay down. Been up too long today and stay safe, people. Everyone, leave a thumbs up and get better, buddy. I know you're going through some health issues. I hope you're well." Max Reverse says, "Download Sons of Apollo. We'll be jamming on the DC 495 Bellway tomorrow on the way to work. You're going to have a great drive to work tomorrow. And don't be speeding too much because that music will make you race. It will. It will." Alan Winder says, "Wow, thanks, Bumblefoot. Awesome." And Spanky McAllister says, "Eric, could you ask Ron, didn't he write the song for, the metal show?" So, yeah, we discussed that earlier. Yep. And okay, here's a good one. And this will probably be one of our last questions for the evening from the chat, guys and girls. Thank you so very much. Rocamp says, does Ron have a favorite amp to record with?
The Engel Invader 100-watt tube head and a Marshall 4x12 cabinet with Celestions. Would throw a SM57, Sennheiser 421, and a Cascade Fathead 2 ribbon mic on there, all three. And then I would go in, check the waves, and make sure that the wave is aligned, there's no phase issue, and then just blend them as needed. And then if they still need a little EQing any of them, add that as well. And put them together, and you get a nice, just smooth, good, juicy sound.
Perfect. I know you're getting ready to head overseas, and there's some delays and things with that. Now, tell us a little bit about what that's going to entail. What you're up against heading over there.
Yeah. I just tour like crazy. I do these fun combinations of everything when I tour. It'll be I'll be doing full band touring, with the whole band and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll do these one-man shows where I'm just alone on stage singing and playing guitar to some backing tracks, almost like a clinic, but not as clinical. And then I'll do clinics and do workshops and things like that. I'll do acoustic shows, and I meet up with U.S. embassies, and we do these cross-cultural programs in different countries. So just last month, or even, since beginning of September, I did Japan, Thailand, did a children's charity there, a fundraiser, did Malaysia, did Bangladesh, all around Ireland, Northern Ireland, went to Romania, toured around there, Moldova, Poland, Copenhagen Guitar Show in Denmark, all around France, finishing with an old friend of mine, Pat O'May. I produced his album about 19 years ago, all the way out in the northwest part of France, out in the woods for 3 weeks, and then went to New York and mixed it, and wonderful guy, and we got to sort of have a little anniversary show together. Came home and did shows in Battle Creek in Detroit, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, San Diego, and I was supposed to be in China right now, but there was a little visa issue, so we got to reschedule that. So now I'm going to be heading to Malaysia and then Indonesia, and then it looks like Japan again, and then I got a full band tour around Holland and around France, and then Romania again, and then I was going to do a Russian acoustic tour, but it looks like that visa isn't going to come in time. So kill that, possibly some clinics in the UK and Germany, and then I might go back and do China, and then after that possibly Korea, and then I get home just in time to do a bunch of stuff around the US again. And got all those listed at bumblefoot.com if you're wondering where the hell I'm going to be in the US. And that's just my solo stuff. And doing it that way, it's never boring. It never gets robotic. It never gets stale. Every day is a different day, and it stays fresh. And you have to build things toward that. You have to make it that way. Make it what you want it to be. It's so easy to burn out. And especially, I've been doing this 42 years now. I should be really burned out. And a lot of times I am. But you have to find ways to keep it interesting for you and keep your spirit lit up. And that's what I found, is by having the diversity and doing everything that I love to do, which is teaching and charity stuff and the stuff with the embassies and full nasty band shows and just very intimate acoustic shows and all of that. Keeps me feeling like that 6-year-old.
Yeah, that's right. Our good friend Craig Rendell's is regular here and a good friend of mine too. He may be referring to the show that you said in Russia that's not happening. Maybe he's from the U.S. and from Russia. He's over there right now. He says, "Hey, Ron and Eric, Ron, looking forward to seeing you with Corrado in November. Is that the show that won't be happening?"
Okay, so that will probably be one of the Romania shows, either in Constanta or now I got a little something in Bucharest as well, and so maybe one of those.
Okay, good.
Which one? Very cool. Yeah. That'll be Romania.
Yeah, hopefully he gets a chance to meet you because he's he's a monster player. He's great. Yeah,
great. I'm looking forward to meeting. Definitely.
Yeah, he's working with George Lynch right now, building the Bones guitars, the limited edition Bones.
Oh wait, I think I know who he is. I think we've met before.
You probably have.
Was it Great Guitar Escape last summer? Not this past summer, like summer of 2016.
Yeah, I don't know if he might comment.
Was he there? Is he typing?
No, I don't see him typing yet, but if he's still here, he'll comment. That'd be cool if that was the case. You recognize him if you see him. Big muscle dude. He's got, his arms are bigger than my legs. And he looks like a Secret Service guy. He's probably gonna hate me for saying that, but he's just a cool dude. He's very cool and a monster player. Oh, there he goes. He's there. He says yes, likely Romania.
Yeah, he made this amazing replica of George Lynch's guitar, and it was fantastic.
He just commented yes.
Talking to him that. Yeah, so that's probably him. Well, good. I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Good. At Gilbert's event. He says, okay, there you go. That was
it. Yeah, Great Guitar Escape. It was Paul Gilbert, Andy Timmons, Kiko. And in fact, there's another thing. If you go on YouTube, you will find all of us doing Detroit Rock City together.
Oh, wicked.
Yeah. Got to check it out.
Love it. I love it.
And Paul Gilbert was on drums.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. He's a good drummer.
I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that for sure. I'll just read the following comments here as we wrap up for the night. Dan Will Height says, epic show tonight. Thank you, guys. And you give us a nice soundtrack as we go. Keep playing. Don't stop. James Tacos, the guitarist, says, thank you, Eric. Love that. Damn, I love that.
You'll be looking through me in a 60s movie. Baby, tell the press you died. You love the way trying your best to hide. Rated 60s.
Cool. Yeah. Or
Love
old
it.
Paul.
Love
Paul
it,
Gilbert.
man. Jeez, this could be turned into a great jam. This is great. So that's Craig. Justin Grady says, peace out, guys. Eric is always an amazing show. Fantastic. Thank you so very, very much. We're going to get Billy Sheehan on here soon, and I got to tease him. He was hanging out with, I think, Nikki Sixx today, and he forgot about me the other night, but that's okay. Actually, it was the other morning, but Billy's busy, and Billy's going to make it up. He's been texting me back and forth. We just have to get Jeff Scott Soto and Mike Portnoy on here, and we got the whole band on here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, here, I'm going to do my, let's see, Billy Sheehan.
All right, let's do it.
When that first Talus album came out and he had a solo on there, NV43345.
Yep.
And I heard that thing and I just immediately, I was like 11, 12 years old, and I just kept dropping the needle and learned it note for note, and I still remember it.
Good.
My ode to Billy. Into that little.
That is amazing.
Oh, was it? Oh, wait, then. It's a lot easier on the bass.
Yeah.
It's tight.
Snap that neck.
Yeah. Was it? Got that riff. And just double finger. That whole thing.
That's Billy.
Yeah.
Wicked.
Cool.
Good job. I'm sure Billy approves. Listen.
How was you, Billy?
Yeah. Come on, Billy. We got to get this. We got to get this on the road. Let's come on over and see us. And Mike Portnoy, if you're watching, let's talk some Van Halen as well. We'll share some love as well. Ron, thank you so very much for your time tonight. The fans.
Thank you very much, and thank you all so much. Yes.
The fans loved you tonight, as I did, and I hope everything works out for you with the visa goodness. And I know it will. It's just one of those things, as we were talking about. Either it goes well or it doesn't go well. So I wish you the best with that. And we're going to send as many more new fans your way as well. And just celebrate with your passion that you have for music and everything else. Just keep doing what you're doing and inspiring the world.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate you having me on. And to all the new people that I'm connecting with, it's nice to meet you all. And yeah.
Perfect. I'm going to say goodbye to you off the air. Hang on for about 15 seconds. I'll say goodbye off the air. And everyone have a fantastic night. And I will be back again tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, we'll see you real soon. Cheers.